In the heart of Catalonia, a dream began to rise, not in silence, but in the roar of a people who wanted a home worthy of their spirit. In the early 1950s, Barcelona had outgrown its old fortress, Le Cor. The fans had become too many. The dreams had become too big. The city needed a new cathedral, one that could hold its passion, its pride, and its future. In 1954, the first stone was laid, not by politicians alone, nor by distant planners, but by workers, supporters, and a generation that believed football could mean more than a game. They were building something that would hold memories, that would echo with chants and footsteps for decades. They were building Camp Nou. Camp Nou rose slowly from the earth, concrete and steel mixed with hope and sacrifice. Construction was difficult, budgets tightened, timelines stretched, yet every challenge only deepened the bond between the club and its city. Because Camp Nou was never just a stadium, it was a symbol, a declaration that Barcelona's culture and identity deserved to be seen and heard on the world stage. On September 24, 1957, Camp Nou opened its gates. Tens of thousands of fans flooded the stands, wrapped in blue and garnet, carrying the sound of 1,000 throats. The stadium was monumental in scale, but its true monumentality was emotional. It offered space for triumph and grief, for glory and heartbreak. It offered a place where a city could write its story in the language of football. Through the 1960s and 70s, Camp Nou became a crucible of talent and temperament. Legends walked its pitch. Coaches and players transformed how the game was played and felt. Johan Cruyff arrived, and with him brought ideas that would shape Barcelona's soul for generations. A philosophy of movement, control, and identity. The stadium held it all. The tactical revolutions, the nights of European drama, the seasons that became folklore. Kids watched from the terraces and imagined themselves on that sacred turf. For many, playing at Camp Nou was the pinnacle, the dream that justified endless hours of practice and devotion. Those early decades built the mythology, the rituals and chants that made Camp Nou less a venue and more a living memory. And then came the golden years, a period in which Camp Nou transcended regional pride and claimed a place in the global imagination. The 1980s and 1990s saw an evolution in both style and stature. Barcelona became synonymous with daring, with artistry, and with a singular identity that the world learned to respect. Johan Cruyff's dream team redefined success through a philosophy that blended youth and intelligence, and the stadium became the stage for this new theater. Camp Nou hosted nights of staggering intensity, European battles under floodlights, tense derbies that rippled through the city, moments that demanded to be remembered. Fans packed the stands and sang until their voices failed. Each match stitched 1,000 small stories into a larger tapestry, rivalries, comebacks, and performances that would be replayed in memory for decades. Then came the arrival of a boy from Rosario, a prodigy who would reshape the modern game, Lionel Messi. He stepped onto Camp Nou's grass with the quiet focus of someone who already knew his own destiny. Over the years, he became its heartbeat. His goals, his dribbles, his silences and celebrations were recorded in the rafters and in the hearts of millions. For a generation, Camp Nou was Messi's kingdom. And Messi, in return, made the stadium sacred for anyone who ever loved football. But time has a way of testing even the greatest of places. The stadium that had once symbolized pride began to show its age. Seats grew weary, facilities lagged behind modern expectations. The world around Camp Nou evolved. Technology advanced, stadium design transformed, and fans' needs changed. The question shifted from, can Camp Nou continue, to how can Camp Nou live again? Talk of renovation and reinvention began. The idea was never merely cosmetic, it was a philosophical challenge. How to honor a storied past while building for a new future. Espai Barça, the grand vision to modernize the stadium and its surrounding complex, emerged from that tension. It promised a new Camp Nou, one that would preserve the soul of the place while giving it a structure and comfort for generations to come. The decision to rebuild was not simple. There were political debates, financial hurdles, and the predictable chorus of critics who feared the loss of something irreplaceable. For many fans, the thought of changing the stadium felt like rewriting their own memories. For city planners and club leaders, the task was to reconcile nostalgia with necessity, to design a temple that could hold both history and tomorrow. The demolition and reconstruction marked a dramatic transition. Where crowds once roared, there were cranes, dust, and the hum of machinery. Workers moved with the precision of a new era. Foundation poured, steel frames raised, and plans executed with an almost surgical discipline. Construction became its own drumbeat, a different kind of crowd noise, one of progress and perseverance. During the transition, the club found temporary homes elsewhere. The rituals changed. Fans adapted to new seats and different sightlines, but their devotion remained intact. The absence of the old stadium allowed reflection. Old photographs were shared and retweeted. Stories circulated about the last matches, the final whistles, and the chants that lingered in empty stands. A city that had once thrummed with matchday life learned to feel the weight of a quiet stadium and to anticipate the return of something renewed. Espai Barça's designs promised more than a roof and more seats. They promised sustainability, integration, and functionality. A stadium that speaks to the 21st century. Plans showed a venue with an elegant roof to protect fans, improved sightlines so every roar matters, modern hospitality areas, and technology woven into the very fabric of the structure. There would be a new 360-degree screen, improved accessibility, and urban spaces that connected the club to its city in intuitive ways. But the essence of the project was not merely technical. It was a promise to the spirit of the club that Camp Nou could be reborn without losing what made it beloved. The architect spoke of light and space, of honoring sightlines where memories had been made, and of creating an environment where new generations could write their own stories while revering the old. In the years leading up to demolition, Camp Nou had hosted football is capable of surviving transformation, and that the physical place, while important, serves a deeper human need, the need for shared memory and collective expression. The future Camp Nou promised an expanded capacity, but more importantly, it promised an experience. A place where families, tourists, and devoted followers could gather in comfort and still feel the rawness of live sport. Sustainability measures aim to reduce the stadium's environmental footprint. Smart systems and modern infrastructure would make operations smoother and bring the club into alignment with the expectations of the modern era. And yet, through all this, the old echoes persisted. The image of a child pressing their face to the glass to watch a team they will someday cheer for again. An old fan recounting a night when everything changed. A player lifting a trophy in a scene that will be replayed 1,000 times. These images bridge past and future. As the stadium's silhouette changed on the horizon, so did the narratives of those who loved it. Histories that had been told in barbershops and cafeterias began to find their place in digital archives and documentary reels. Fans around the world debated the merits of the new roof, the color of the seats, and the placement of statues. Yet beneath every technical debate was a simple truth. The club's identity is larger than any building. Buildings house identity. They do not define it. When the new Camp Nou finally opened its doors, it would not erase what came before. It would carry it forward, embedding old chants into new acoustics, running legacy into modern infrastructure. New talents would step onto the pitch and stand on the shoulders of those who came before. And through it all, the chants, the voice of Catalonia and the world that gathered there, would remain. They would be louder, clearer, and available to more people. But at their core, they would still be the same, a declaration of love, of resistance, and of belonging. This is the paradox and the promise of places like Camp Nou. They are at once physical and metaphysical. They are made of concrete and also of memory. They are arenas for sport and temples of identity. To rebuild such a place is not to discard the past, but to extend an invitation to new fans, to new generations, to new stories. It is, in the truest sense, a continuation. So when you think of Camp Nou, remember the first stones laid in 1954? The first chants under the Mediterranean sky? The legends who made the turf holy? The seasons of inexorable glory? The slow decay and the difficult choices? And finally, the rebirth that promised a future respectful of the past. Remember the hands that built it, the voices that sustained it, and the children who will grow up with new memories to call their own. Because Camp Nou was never merely a stadium, it was a mirror held up to a city. It reflected the hopes, the struggles, and the resilience of a people who refused to be anonymous. It taught the world that a football club could be an act of cultural expression, loud, proud, and unafraid. And as the lights come back on a new Camp Nou, as the first whistle blows and a new generation roars, the lesson will remain simple and eternal. Stadiums may be rebuilt, but the spirit they carry is indestructible. The dream that began in the 1950s lives on, passed from one set of hands to another. It endures because people remember, because they gather, and because they love. Please, if you want more stories like these, and also updates of the ongoing Camp Nou renovation, don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on your notification bell. Visca el Barça, Visca Camp Nou.